Hello everybody, Draylar here. Welcome to the video version of adding an item from the Fabric Wiki. And as you can probably guess by now, we're going to be adding an item to the game. If you haven't watched the first video, you should do that. We just set up our environment, got Minecraft to run, set up our mod ID, did the very basics. One thing I did forget to mention, we have our ID as MyMod, and then we have a resource assets folder. We can change mod ID to whatever your mod ID is, and that'll make sure textures and models apply properly to your custom items. So, looking at the tutorial, the first thing we're going to do is add a field to our main mod class that is an instance of a new item. And so, of course, in Minecraft you have items and blocks. Item represents a single item, for example, dirt or stone. And then you have item stack, which is basically a item with count and MBT with it associated to it. So it'd be something in your inventory. You don't have an item in your inventory, you have an item stack, and an item stack has an item. One thing I forgot to mention, now that we're looking at classes, by the way, I just double hit shift and then type in whatever class I want. So if I want block, I could search up block, and here we go. You might have this prompt if you ran gen sources last video, and we're just going to hit choose sources, and then so we're on 1.14.4. So I'm going to be looking for a jar file that has sources at the end, and ideally I want 1.14.4 sources, but I'm not seeing any, so I'm going to guess my gen sources didn't work. So I'm just going to use this 1.14.3 sources jar. And as you can see, we're now in an actual Java file, and everything's been mapped. And methods now make a little bit more sense because they've been mapped. Enough of that, though. Let's create a private static final item. I was trying to think of an item idea, and what I came up with was Creeper Heart. I thought that would be a fun thing to implement. And then, of course, we're just going to have a new instance of item. Item takes in item.settings, which sets things like the max stat count and the creative inventory group that the item appears in. So I'm going to do new item.settings. Let's set the item group to materials. And let's set the max count to 32, just for fun. So now we have a new item, but this in itself doesn't do anything. We have to register the item so that Minecraft knows it exists and that it should be added to the main game. I'm going to delete this comment. I'm going to call registry. Make sure you get the Minecraft registry import, not the other ones. Register. And then register takes in the registry type, an identifier to identify the item, and an instance of the item you're registering. So I'm going to do registry.item because I'm registering an item. I'm going to do new identifier, and an identifier takes in a namespace and a path. So our namespace will be MyMod because that's our mod ID. The path will be Creeper Heart because that's the name of our item. And then we'll pass in our Creeper Heart instance. That's all you have to do. We're going to run our game now. You can see our Hello Fabric world was run once again. If we did this right, we should see unable to load model, MyMod, Creeper Heart, and that's because we haven't added a texture or model to our item yet. So let me just create a super flat world. If we go into materials, look at me knowing exactly where it's at. Where are materials? Well, anyways, Creeper Heart. Not sure if materials is... I've got no idea where it is. There it is, miscellaneous. MyMod.CreeperHeart. And of course it has no textures, no model, no translation, so it's very blank. A few things I'm going to do right away. First off, instead of instantiating a new item, I'm going to create my own item class. So I'm going to create Creeper Heart item, and I'm going to have an extend item. And now instead of new item, we can say new Creeper Heart item. So the benefit to doing this is that now we can override all of the methods inside item. Whereas if we wanted to do it here, well, it's a bit of a pain to say the least. Let's see, what should we override? You can start typing if you just press Control-O to see all the possible overrides. So, say I want to find a method that's called when I use the item. Well, I'm going to type use, and then I'm just going to start scrolling down, and oh hey, use. So I can assume that's when I use the item or right-click with it. I'm just going to tidy up these parameters that haven't been mapped. So this is called when we right-click with the item. So what I want to do is, I'm going to say if the hand is equal to the main hand, so if we're holding the item in our main hand, I'm going to print out the classic creeper line. Let's start again. Of course, most methods have an instance of the world and player entity. So the player entity is the player that's clicking with it, and the world is the world that the player is in. Of course, player already has an instance of world, so kind of redundant, but you'll find that in most methods. So now if I click with my mod.creeperheart, we can see down in console our line was printed out. So there's a lot we could do with that. We could play a sound, we could spawn a giant explosion, we could summon a creeper, we could kick the player out of the world, we could crash the game. I mean, you could do whatever you want here, but instead of doing custom mechanics here, I'm going to add a model and texture first. So we have resource assets my mod. For those of you who have done resource packs before, this is literally just a resource pack inside our mod. So I'm going to create a models folder and a textures folder. Because this is an item, we'll have an item folder inside models and an item folder inside textures. And then we're going to create a JSON file for our item. Now the name of the JSON file has to be the same as the path and your identifier that you registered the item under. So I'm going to do creeperheart.json, and this is our model file. So I have a model file over here. This is from the beef item. I took it right from the Minecraft assets. Really quick, the parent is just how it's displayed in your inventory. The textures, self-explanatory. Layer 0 references the texture that we're going to be using. So if I started the game right now, most likely what would happen is it would look like a piece of beef. I don't want that. I want to reference whatever texture I have right here. As a matter of fact, let me drag my custom texture into this folder right now. We have creeperheart.png. So to reference that, first off, because we're in the mymod namespace, I'm going to add mymod:" item, which is this folder right here, creeper_heart. So this model file, which is called because our item is called Creeper Heart, references this texture. So if all goes well, we should have a textured item. And if it doesn't work, we'll know because console will tell us. I'm not seeing any errors here, so I'm going to guess it worked. Yep, and as you can see, our item has my poorly designed texture that took me 15 seconds to make. It looks more like a green cookie. That's not a circle, but you get the idea. Last thing we can do is add a translation. I'm just going to move Minecraft over to the side for a second. I'm going to create a new folder called lang. create enus.json. And then this is the untranslated name of our item, item.mymod.creeperheart. So that's going to be the key. And then we're going to call it Creeper Heart. Let's restart our game, just so those changes take place. And as you can see, our item has been translated properly. It no longer has a weird name. It now fits in, Creeper Heart. I should have mentioned this. EN_US is the language code, and because I'm in America using English, that's my language, which I'm not sure where language settings are, but yes, English US. That's this one right here. So when I'm using English US, it calls this file to translate the items. You can look up other language codes on the Minecraft wiki. Pretty easy. Well, our item works. We have a custom click event, a texture, a translation. That's basically all you need to get started. Next tutorial, we'll be looking at making a block. So I'll see you then.